I never meant to find it. I wasn't looking for anything except maybe a cheap lens or a busted tripod to salvage. Just something to distract me from the fact that my freelance gigs were drying up and my landlord had started texting me twice a week about rent. I'd driven about an hour north of town to this rural flea market that popped up every third weekend outside the old fairgrounds. The type of place that smelled like scorched meat and rotting hay. Rows of rusted tools, chipped glassware, knockoff toys bleached by the sun. It was supposed to be a quick detour, a break from failure. But I saw it immediately. A little white Polaroid camera sitting on a folding table next to boxes of VHS tapes and porcelain angels missing their hands. The thing was spotless, almost untouched, like it didn't belong there. Like someone had just set it down moments before I arrived. It was one of those SX-70 models, the kind that folds flat and pops open with a sharp flick. Real vintage, early 70s. Leather casing, chrome edges, and it wasn't priced like a collector's item. $15. You a camera guy? Asked the vendor, a thin man in a flannel shirt who looked like he hadn't blinked since '96. His eyes were bloodshot and watery. That one still works. Found it in a dead woman's attic just last week. I gave a weak laugh. Sounds cursed. He didn't smile, just shrugged. I bought it anyway. I didn't think much about the vendor's story until I got home and cracked open the film cartridge compartment. To my surprise, there was still a pack inside, half used, maybe 5 or 6 exposures left. I should have tossed it. Expired film can be unstable, especially old Polaroids. But some part of me was curious. It felt like opening a sealed letter from the past. I aimed it at the window and clicked the shutter. CHK. The camera made that mechanical groan as the photo slid out. I waved it instinctively, though I knew that was a myth. Watched the white blur slowly develop. But the image wasn't my window. It wasn't even my apartment. It showed a room I didn't recognize, cream-colored walls, a crooked painting, a red lamp with a shade tilted sideways, and someone sitting on the edge of a bed. A woman, mid-30s, brown hair, head tilted, looking at something beyond the frame. The expression on her face was hard to place. She didn't look scared. Not exactly. But she wasn't comfortable either. Like she was hearing something she wasn't supposed to hear. The details were crystal clear. Too clear. The photo shouldn't have come out at all. The film was at least a decade expired. I told myself it was probably a leftover photo. Maybe someone used it, reinserted it into a new pack. I'd heard of people manipulating Polaroids, doing weird artistic overlays or chemical tricks. Maybe this was some vintage trick photography, a double exposure, an illusion. But the timestamp in the corner, hand-scratched onto the lower white margin, read June 4th. That was tomorrow. I took the next photo at 11:57 p.m. In my bathroom, facing the mirror. The lighting was dim. I was half expecting a blur or a black rectangle. But what I got made me sit on the edge of my tub for almost an hour, staring. The photo developed slowly, and again, it wasn't what I saw through the viewfinder. It was my bathroom. Same cracked tile. Same off-white sink. But someone else was standing behind me in the mirror. A man, dressed in black, blurry around the edges, like he'd been moving when the shot was taken. I hadn't seen anyone there. I was alone. I checked. I triple-checked. That night, I slept with the camera locked in a cabinet. 2 days later, while scrolling news headlines on my phone, I saw her. Local woman found dead in motel, possible homicide. The motel was 3 blocks from my apartment. The photo in the article was grainy, but it was her, the woman from the first Polaroid. The crooked painting, the red lamp, all matched the background of the crime scene photo. The murder had occurred on the night of June 4th. Just like the timestamp, I told myself I wouldn't take another. That whatever this was, hoax, hallucination, ghost trick, it was better left alone. But the camera wouldn't let me forget. Every time I opened the cabinet, it was sitting there on the top shelf, centered perfectly, even if I'd left it shoved in the back. It was 2:17 a.m. when I cracked. I loaded a new film pack I'd found online and took another shot, this time pointing it out my apartment window. The photo showed the alley behind my building, and a person face down on the concrete, a pool of blood haloing their head. Someone had fallen, or been pushed. The timestamp said June 8th. That was 3 days away. On the night of June 8th, I stayed by the window, watching that alley like a hawk. I kept texting friends, pretending to check in, needing to feel like someone knew where I was. At 2:34 a.m., I heard it. A scream, high-pitched and raw, followed by a thud that echoed like a car crash. I looked down and saw a man lying motionless, his limbs bent wrong. It was the same pose, same angle, same bloody arc. I hadn't stopped it. I had witnessed it just like the camera. I called them. I tried to explain what I'd seen. I left out the camera, of course. Who the hell was going to believe that? I just told them I heard it, saw it happen. They asked if I recognized the victim. I said no, but when they pulled the body's wallet, I did recognize the name. It was someone I'd interviewed last year for a photo series on homelessness. A kind, soft-spoken man named Curtis who'd told me his biggest fear was dying in a city that forgot him. He died alone, and the camera had known. There was only one photo left in the pack. I waited 4 days before I touched it. I kept it locked in a drawer, but I swear every night I heard something moving in there, like the shutter clicking on its own. I even checked once at 3 a.m., and the compartment was open, as if something had taken a picture while I slept. I finally used the last shot on June 13th. I pointed it at my bedroom door. What developed made my skin crawl. The door was open, wide, but I'd closed it before taking the picture. And in the photo, someone stood just beyond the threshold. Their features were washed out, but their posture was unmistakable. They were waiting. The timestamp? I didn't sleep the night the final Polaroid developed. I kept staring at the photo, the door in it flung open wide, wider than my real one ever went, and that shape in the doorway. Not a shadow, not a trick of light. A person, waiting. I triple-checked the actual door. Locked. Bolted. I even jammed a chair under the knob like I'd seen in movies. But even after all that, the photo still sat there, face up on my desk, as if mocking me. I tried sleeping with the light on. I tried putting the photo in a drawer. I couldn't rest until morning. And when the sun finally rose, I told myself I was done. No more photos. No more games. The camera was going back to where I found it. The flea market didn't return the next weekend. I called the fairgrounds, nothing scheduled for weeks. I searched online, checked Facebook groups, local listings, community boards. No one had ever heard of the vendor I described. No stall under his name. No record of any pop-up flea market. Nothing. It was like it never happened. The Polaroid sat on my desk like a patient animal. That would have been the end of it, except I never bought a second film pack. I meant to, sure, but the one I thought I'd ordered online, there was no charge to my card, no order history, no delivery, no packaging, no receipt. but there was a fresh film pack in the camera now. When I checked the cartridge out of paranoia, it was full. 10 in used photos. I hadn't put them there. I didn't mean to take another. I swear. But I dropped the camera. It slipped from my desk. The lens snapped open and the shutter triggered automatically when it hit the carpet. CHK horror. I froze. The sound cutting through my apartment like a warning bell. The photo slid out face down. I didn't flip it for nearly 10 minutes. My hands were sweating so much the white edge of the photo stuck to my fingers. When I finally turned it over, I saw myself. Not in the reflection. Not holding the camera. I was standing outside on a sidewalk I didn't recognize, looking directly at the lens. And next to me, just behind my left shoulder, was the same man from the bathroom mirror photo. Black clothes, pale skin, face partially turned, like he didn't want me to see him yet. The timestamp read, June 17th, 9:42 p.m. That was 2 nights from now. The sidewalk in the photo became my new obsession. I scanned the background, an awning, a street lamp, and a mural of a crow painted on brick. I walked half of downtown looking for that crow. Nothing. It wasn't until I zoomed in on the photo with my phone and used a reverse image tool that I found something. An old newspaper article from 2004 about a now-defunct jazz bar. The article had a photo of the outside, that mural. The building still stood, boarded up near a condemned shopping strip off Highway 2. I drove there the next day. The mural was faded, barely visible now, but it was there. The same wall as in the photo. My stomach churned. I didn't remember ever being there. I took another photo that night, not by accident this time. I needed to know if it was just the one prediction. I needed to test it. This time I pointed it at my TV. Turn off. The photo showed the black screen, just like in real life, but my reflection wasn't mine. It was the man. He was leaning forward, almost pressed against the screen from the inside. His palms were flat on the inside of the TV, like he was trying to push through. His eyes weren't fully developed, just 2 white orbs, but they were locked on me. His mouth was slightly open. I dropped the photo. I spent the next 3 days trying to find out who he was. I uploaded the Polaroid to forums, trying to describe what little I could. Average build, 40s maybe, pale, black clothes. I told people it was for an art project. People guessed cult leader, old mug shots, horror films. But no matches. One user messaged me privately. Said they'd seen him in a dream once. Said the man walked out of shadow in their grandmother's house years ago. Another person said they used to have recurring nightmares as a child about a man behind glass who breathes like he's drowning. More people sent me messages about him, unprompted, after I posted the photo. They all described similar things. A man appearing in glass, watching, waiting, smiling with his mouth closed, like he knew a secret and was waiting for you to guess wrong. I started to wonder, had the camera found me because I'd already been seen by him? I tried to avoid the place in the photo. I stayed home, locked my doors. I made sure every window was shut, curtains drawn, phone on full charge. At 9:42 p.m., I stared at the digital clock on my microwave and felt cold sweat drip down my back. At 9:43, someone knocked on my door. 3 taps. Soft. Deliberate. I didn't move. I just stood there, holding my breath, hoping they'd go away. Then my phone buzzed. A new photo appeared in my gallery. It was a Polaroid, my photo, but I hadn't taken one. It showed the outside of my door. Someone stood in the hallway, head tilted. The man. The next day, I packed the camera and drove to the only person I thought might know something, a retired photojournalist named Margaret Bales. I'd interned under her years ago. She once covered war zones and cults for magazines like Time and National Geographic. When I showed her the camera, she didn't even touch it. She leaned back in her chair, eyes narrowing. "Where did you get that?" "Flea market," I said. "Kind of." "You didn't. That's not from a flea market." I blinked. "What do you mean?" She got up and pulled an old leather file from her bookshelf. Inside were several black and white photos, aged and brittle. She flipped through them quickly until she found what she was looking for, a Polaroid of a house fire. But in the lower left corner of the image, partially obscured by flame and ash, was the same man. Black coat, pale face, watching from behind a tree. "That shot was taken in 1983, she said. "They found the camera nearby, half melted, still spat out photos." She looked at me then, eyes full of something I hadn't seen in years, fear. "Whatever it is, it's not a man. It likes crimes. It shows up before them." After that, the dream started. They were always the same. I'm inside the Polaroid. The white border is a cage. I can't move. Can't blink. I'm frozen mid-step, and he's on the edge of the frame, getting closer with each dream. In the latest one, he whispered something to me. Something wet and broken, like he didn't have a tongue. "I see you before you happen." I stopped taking photos, but the camera didn't stop giving them. Each morning I'd find a new one beside my bed. I never heard the shutter. I never saw the flash. But the photos were always freshly developed, the chemical scent still clinging to them. One showed me sleeping. Another showed me standing in the street in front of a moving car. Another showed a dark basement I didn't recognize, with me chained to a chair. The timestamp on that one? June 23rd. It was 5 days away. I don't know if he's trying to warn me, or if he's trying to make me part of something. But I feel him now, even when I close my eyes. Sometimes I think I hear a faint mechanical click, like a camera shutter, from behind me. I whip around and nothing's there. Just my reflection. Or so I hope. Margaret told me before I left, "Don't burn the photos. Don't break the camera. It's not a curse you can destroy. It's a door. And he already knows you've opened it." By the time I started taping the lens shut, the Polaroids had already stopped needing me. They appeared in places I hadn't left them. On the nightstand, the bathroom sink, my car dashboard, the inside of the fridge. One even slid out from under my pillow as I made the bed. Always developed, always dry to the touch, always with that same artificial chill, like they'd come from somewhere where light behaves differently. And always of me, or at least a version of me I didn't recognize. I hadn't taken the camera out of the house in weeks, but one morning I found a Polaroid of myself waiting in line at a gas station. I hadn't been there yet, but I recognized the clothes, the hat, the way my posture shifted when I'm in public, pretending I don't feel watched. The timestamp, June 21st, 8:06 p.m. It was at night. I told myself I wouldn't go. I wouldn't wear that outfit. I'd do something, anything to stop the photo from becoming reality. And yet, when I checked the mirror at 7:45 p.m., I had already dressed the same. I changed outfits. I drove to a bar on the other side of town, threw my phone in the glove box, and sat there nursing a warm beer like it might protect me. But when I got back to my apartment, there was a photo in the mailbox. Not sealed, not inside a letter, just resting there. It showed the gas station parking lot, time-stamped 8:06 p.m., as predicted. And there I was, standing outside the station in the exact clothes I'd sworn I never put on, in the same posture, mouth open, eyes mid-blink. My hands were empty in the photo, but the real me, the one holding the photo now, noticed something missing. I hadn't driven to the gas station that night. So how did I get there? The next few days became sleepless stretches of dread. The sound started first, barely audible at night. A small mechanical click like a shutter. Then a whir. Then the faintest scent of chemicals. I started hearing it inside my bedroom walls, in the bathroom drain, under the kitchen sink. Then louder from the back of the closet. I opened it once, fast and suddenly. Just a closet, but hanging above the clothes on the inside of the door was a photo I hadn't taken. It showed me from behind. I was standing at the edge of a train platform, looking down at the tracks. The timestamp read, June 24th, 3:19 a.m. I don't take trains. Margaret, the retired photojournalist who recognized the camera, was my only point of contact. The only person who hadn't tried to call me crazy or tell me to just toss it. But 2 days after I showed her the last batch of photos, she stopped responding to my emails and texts. Then came the envelope. No return address. Postmarked locally. Inside were 3 Polaroids, all decades old, cracked and yellowed around the edges. But they weren't of buildings or places or disasters like before. They were portraits of 3 different people, all mid-action, like a candid photo. One smiling at a birthday cake, one walking up their front steps, and one adjusting a rearview mirror in a car. And in each of them, almost invisible in the corner of the frame, stood the same man. Closer every time. There was a note folded between the photos, scribbled in shaky black pen. He's not in the camera. He's what the camera sees before it chooses to look at you. That's how he finds his way in. I called Margaret 3 times. On the 4th, a man answered. Calm voice. Said I had the wrong number. But the background noise sounded like a darkroom. Water running. Metal trays clinking. A soft click. Then silence. I stopped looking at myself. My reflection had started to lag, a full second behind my actual movements. Then it started smiling when I didn't. One night, I stood in front of the mirror in total darkness, just moonlight creeping through the blinds. My face looked sunken, eyes glassy, but that wasn't what disturbed me. It was the Polaroid stuck in the corner of the frame on the inside of the mirror. It showed a picture of me sleeping, a close-up, as if the camera had been held just inches from my face. It hadn't been there the night before. I fought it. I did everything I could not to go. But I woke up on June 24th at 3:07 a.m., sitting on a bench at the exact train station from the photo. I hadn't driven there. No car. No memory of leaving. Just me, in the clothes I'd last seen in the Polaroid, hands folded, the photo in my lap. The same timestamp, 3:19 a.m. I looked around. Deserted. Lights flickering above the tracks. One bench. One vending machine buzzing in the corner. Trash blowing gently across the concrete. And then the sound. CHK horror. From behind. I turned. Nothing. Just an empty hallway stretching toward the station entrance. But when I looked down again, the photo in my lap had changed. It now showed a man, me, jumping in front of a train. I waited. I panicked. I screamed. No train came. Instead, at 3:19 a.m. exactly, the station lights blinked twice and went out. I was swallowed in darkness for 3 full seconds. When the lights flickered back on, there was a single new photo at my feet. I picked it up with trembling hands. It showed my own living room. And in the center of the photo was a man chained to a chair, mouth sewn shut, eyes wide with recognition. It was me. The location in the photo was unfamiliar: grimy concrete walls, rusted pipes. A small, rectangular basement window half covered by overgrown weeds. I checked my building's blueprints. No basement, but one of the other buildings on my street used to be a funeral home. Condemned now. Been empty for years. I broke in through a boarded window the following night. Flashlight. Crowbar. No idea what I was looking for, other than the window, that same rectangular one from the photo. I found it in the back corner. Below it, a door. Metal. Locked. Next to it was a single photo tacked to the wall. It showed me from above. I was already inside the basement, tied to the chair. In the shadows behind me, something crawling up the wall. It had too many fingers. I ran. I didn't go back. Not that night. But something was wrong. My apartment was. Off when I returned. Photos had spilled across the floor like leaves. They blanketed every surface. Under plates. Inside drawers. In the fridge. In the toilet tank. All different moments. All versions of me. Some showed things that had never happened. Me on fire. Me screaming in a room with no ceiling. Me sitting calmly next to the man in the black coat. Both of us smiling for the camera. And in one photo, I held a baby. I've never had a child. In that photo, I had no eyes. I think the camera, or whatever's behind it, is integrating me now. Not just showing me things, but making me part of the sequence. Like I'm a roll of film it's working through, frame by frame. And once it's done developing me, it moves on. Sometimes I think about burning it all. The photos, the camera, my apartment. But Margaret's warning rings in my head. It's not a curse you can destroy. It's a door. And worse, the Polaroids are starting to smell. Not like chemicals, but like flesh. The newest photo, found this morning, was the worst yet. It showed a wall of Polaroids, hundreds of them, stacked like wallpaper. All of me, in pain, in fear, in ruin. But in the middle of the wall was one blank space, a square of clean drywall. The only photo missing. And below it, scrawled in ink, your final frame, June 27th, 2:44 a.m. I circled the date on the calendar. That's 3 nights from now. And I know, somehow, that when the last photo appears, I'll be inside it forever. There's a smell in my apartment now that no bleach can mask. A smell like rotting film stock. Like something once alive, sealed behind plastic. Every drawer I open, every book I touch, every crack in the walls exhales it. And I know, somehow, in my blood and bones, that it isn't the camera decaying. It's me. The square of clean drywall from the latest photo, the only blank space on the wall of Polaroids, won't leave my mind. I tried recreating it. Took down the photos from one section of my bedroom wall. Scrub it raw. Wiped it smooth. Try to mimic that perfectly sterile void. But that part of the photo, the blank square, didn't match my wall. It wasn't even the same apartment. The layout was reversed. The light came from the wrong direction. The baseboards were metallic, not wood. So I checked the timestamp again. June 27th, 2:44 a.m. The date still hasn't changed. The missing frame hasn't either. But the blank part of the photo. It's darker now. Something is forming inside it. He's always been there, on the periphery. In early photos, you had to squint to see him. Just a blur in the window glass. A shadow that didn't belong. But now he's closer. I have 3 Polaroids taken from different angles of my apartment, one from the hallway, one from inside the fridge, one from under the bed. In each, the man is standing in identical posture, just outside the edge of the frame, facing the lens, motionless. But his head shifts incrementally between shots, like a stop-motion animation. By overlaying them, I could piece together a full image of him. Black wool coat, skin like aged paper, crinkled and dry. No visible eyes, and hands are wrong, 3 fingers only on each hand, but they curl like ribbons. I nailed all 3 Polaroids to my wall. The next morning, they were gone. I went back. I don't know why. Maybe I needed confirmation that the basement existed, that my memory hadn't fractured so badly I'd imagined it. The funeral home was colder now, the interior thick with mildew and rot. Peeling wallpaper fell like scabs. The floor creaked beneath even the lightest steps. I made it back to the door beneath the small window. This time, the door was open. Inside, a staircase spiraled down far longer than it should have. I counted 37 steps before the walls turned from brick to an impossible, slick black stone. And there, at the bottom, was the room from the final frame photo. A square, featureless chamber. Walls lined with hundreds of Polaroids, not of me, but of others. Some screaming, some melting, some decaying in real time. And in the center of the room was the chair. The chair is old. Steel, bolted to the ground. Wide leather straps hung loosely from the armrests. The seat was stained with something that had dried in uneven circles, not blood. It looked more like photographic developer fluid, dark and thick. As I stepped closer, the walls began to whisper. I swear I heard Margaret's voice, faint and trembling, like someone yelling through 6 feet of water. Stop feeding it. You're the last frame. Don't let it finish. Then something clicked behind me. I turned. The door had vanished. In its place was a mirror, but it didn't show me. It showed the man in the coat, seated in the chair. He was smiling. In a negative room, tucked behind a panel near the ceiling, I found a journal, wrinkled, moisture-warped, written in an angular, frantic hand. A previous owner of the camera. Maybe. Most of it is unreadable. The ink bled through the paper like tears. But a few pages remain legible. Every time I take a photo, the world gets thinner. Like I'm peeling the skin off reality, one shot at a time. It only photographs moments that must happen. Not memories. Not predictions. It's more like a blueprint. The man in the coat is what remains when you run out of images. He's not part of the camera. He's what's left when you've been seen too much. If you're reading this, you're already next. You're the final image before it starts over with someone new. Whatever you do, don't let it take the final photo. I turned the page. The last sentence was scrawled across both pages, over and over, in fading ink. Do not sit in the chair. Do not sit in the chair. Do not sit in the chair. That night, I heard Margaret again. Not over the phone, but through my TV. I was trying to stay awake, anything to avoid dreaming, and I heard her voice crackle through the static of an unused input channel. It came in fits and warps. He can't finish. If the photo isn't taken, final frame won't develop without you in it. You have to destroy the subject, not the camera. I took a photo of the screen. The Polaroid developed with no image. Just a line of text scratched into the emulsion. Nice try. He's not in the broadcast. He's inside your exposure. I pieced it together, slowly, through the hundreds of unlabeled, scattered photos strewn across my apartment. Each one was a different version of me, in different clothes, lighting, posture, even ages. Some older, some younger, some unrecognizable. But when I arranged them in the order of their timestamps, I saw it. Each photo was a slice, a progression. The more I exposed myself to the camera, the more it reshaped me, like printing a body in light. I am becoming its subject frame by frame. Once the final Polaroid is taken, the last frame, my presence, my will, my choices end. I'm not sure it kills you in the usual sense. It develops you until you stop being yours. I tried smashing the mirrors in my home. Each one cracked easily. But behind the largest one, the one in the hallway, was something new. A square panel, flush with the wall. It opened when I touched it. Inside, a fresh Polaroid, still warm, resting in a velvet-lined tray like a sacrament. It showed the negative room again. But this time the walls were empty, no photos. Just blankness. And in the center, in the chair, me, eyes rolled back, mouth open like a scream. And behind me, the man in the coat, unpeeling my face like film. The timestamp, June 27th, 2:44 a.m. I did something drastic. I found an old camera at a thrift shop, same model, similar enough to pass. I spray painted it to match the cursed one, put it in a lockbox, and buried it in the woods, just in case anyone ever came looking. I started showing people that one, saying it was the haunted object, telling them the story was over. But the real camera, I locked it in a lead-lined box in my freezer. For 12 hours, nothing happened. Then a knock at the door. When I opened it, there was no one there, just a Polaroid taped to the peephole. It showed me, standing at the open door. But the version of me in the photo had no mouth. Only the words, written across the bottom. You are the camera now. 2 nights left, and something inside me feels lighter now. Like pieces of my soul have been lifted one by one. I forget basic things. Where I live, who my parents were, what I looked like before the photos started. There are moments I swear I can feel my limbs as light as film stock, fluttering when I move. I hear clicks inside my head when I blink. And sometimes in my peripheral vision, I see light leaks, those bleeding flares that happen when a photo is overexposed. I'm becoming grainy. I'm being flattened, framed. Tonight, in a final act of desperation, I burned the entire apartment. Tore the wallpaper off, ripped down every last photo, smashed the furniture, and threw the Polaroids into a trash bin soaked in gasoline. The flames swallowed everything. I stood on the sidewalk and watched the building glow orange and then black. It felt like a release. But when I returned to the hotel, I'd checked in earlier that evening. The room was covered in photos, identical to the ones I'd burned. The final photo was already there, stuck to the headboard. It shows a wall of photos. In the center, the missing frame. And in that blank square, something has finally formed. My face. Smiling, but not my smile. I can no longer tell whether the photos are being taken of me or by me. I wake up with film powder under my fingernails. My breath fogs in square shapes. The hum in my ears pulses in intervals shutter speed. Light passes through my eyes, but doesn't feel like it's reaching my brain. I used to take pictures. Now I think I am one. After the apartment fire, I thought I had one. Thought I'd erased the Polaroids and whatever haunted them. But when I checked into the St. Giles Hotel, room 908, everything started again worse. The room is identical to my old apartment. Same layout, same peeling paint, same nail holes in the walls. But I never told the hotel my name. Never showed ID. No one else is staying on this floor. I left the room once. Got on the elevator. Pressed L. It took me down. But when the doors opened, I was back in room 908. Except this time, the photos on the wall had changed. They showed things I hadn't done yet. Me dragging something heavy down a hallway. Me vomiting up a roll of undeveloped film. Me setting the funeral home ablaze, something I never planned, but now can't stop thinking about. The timestamp on all of them is the same, June 27th, 2:44 a.m. The TV came on by itself that night. No picture, just her voice. He found the first frame again. It always starts over once someone understands a pattern. You didn't break the cycle, you reloaded it. He's in the dark room now. He's developing you. I screamed at the screen. Demanded to know what frame 001 meant. The answer came not in her voice, but a click from the bathroom. A Polaroid had ejected from the mirror. It showed a baby, wrapped in yellow hospital cloth, swaddled, eyes open, staring directly at the lens. The caption beneath read, Frame 001, subject prepared. And then, in Margaret's voice again, softer now, as though behind me, that's you. There were others before me. I found them through a trail of articles, fragments, and corrupted forum archives on the dark web. A man in Oregon who mailed himself daily Polaroids of his death, even while still alive. A girl in Madrid whose bedroom walls grew hundreds of photos overnight, each one depicting her own eyes closing. An artist in Kiev who painted Polaroids from memory, only to vanish days before his final exhibit titled Exposure Complete. And before them, stories going back decades. The camera changes hands through violence, deception, fire sales, estate auctions. It finds you when you're most vulnerable, when you've lost something. For me, it was Margaret, but the first known reference was in 1936. A burned letter from a German soldier stationed near a village called Weidenbruck, long since erased from maps. The last line of the letter read, "They say it steals the soul in slices. That when the final photo develops, there is nothing left to cast a shadow." I made it back. I don't remember walking there. I blacked out sometime during the night, but when I came to, I was back in the funeral home's basement in the negative room. But it had changed. Now it was covered wall to wall in photos of me. Photos I've never taken, hundreds of them, in outfits I've never worn, in decades I've never lived through. Some are in black and white. Others are faded like from the 70s. Some depict me in futures that haven't happened. In one, I'm hunched in a prison cell. In another, I'm laying in a morgue drawer, zipped to the chest. And in another, I'm smiling wide, hollow, behind the counter of a photo processing shop that doesn't exist anymore. Then I saw it. A gap. A missing photo. A perfect square of absence on the back wall. That's when I realized the crime hasn't happened yet, but the camera already knows it will. Something about the blank square terrifies me more than all the photos combined. It's waiting for me. I now understand the structure. Each subject begins with frame 001, a candid image shortly after birth. The camera documents you throughout your life, but not all moments, only the ones that are causal, the ones that lead to the crime. The final frame is the moment just before it happens. After that, you become part of the camera, not its user. It's film. The camera isn't just taking pictures. It's printing new realities, using your life as emulsion. I saw him, truly saw him for the first time last night. I woke to find him standing in the hotel room's mirror, but not in the reflection. He was inside the mirror, smiling. He reached toward the glass, and where his fingers touched, they curled outward, forming a lens aperture. A blink, a shudder. I took a step forward, and the mirror began to ripple. He leaned his head through. Up close, his face was an undeveloped negative, all teeth and unformed eyes. Just contrast and grain. And then I realized something. He's not a spirit. He's not a ghost. He's a person trapped at the end of his own photo sequence, caught between light and permanence. He was somebody once, and he's trying to get out. I don't remember doing it, but the photo shows me holding a hammer. Margaret tied to a chair. Blood sprayed across the walls like Rorschach ink. The timestamp, June 27th, 2:44 a.m. The caption scrawled by hand. Final frame. But Margaret is still missing, presumed dead. There's been no investigation, no body, and yet the photo exists. Fresh, smelling of chemicals. So here's the real horror. The crime hasn't happened yet. But because the photo exists, it must. Because the final frame always happens. Even if it takes you to it. Even if it becomes you in the process. It's 2 hours until 2:44 a.m. The camera sits on the hotel dresser. Quiet. Polished. Ready. I tried smashing it. Hammer. Fire. Submersion. Acid. Each time, it returned unharmed. Back on the dresser. Or in the freezer. Or on my pillow. Sometimes I wake with it in my hands. The only way out, if Margaret was right, is to deny the camera the final frame. But I've already seen it. It exists, which means so does the event it documents. So I'm left with one impossible idea. If the subject, me, dies before the frame is taken, the photo can't develop. If I end myself before 2:44 a.m., I might short-circuit the cycle, but the mirror's reflection shows me something else. In it, I'm not alone. Behind me is Margaret, smiling, her mouth sewn shut with film. I open the film compartment on the camera one last time. There's a strip of undeveloped photos inside, unnumbered, untitled. At the end of the roll is one final image. Unlike the others, this one is moving, a live photo, flickering like a GIF. An animation on physical paper. It shows me hunched over this notebook, writing the last lines of this story. Behind me, the man in the coat. Except now, he's wearing my face. If you're reading this, the camera has chosen you next. You've either found it, or you will, because I'm going to mail it sealed, unlabeled, anonymous, just like Margaret did to me. You'll be curious. You'll take a photo, and the cycle will start again. I don't know who you are yet, but I've already seen the first frame. You're asleep, safe, innocent. You haven't taken the picture yet, but the camera has. Your frame 001 already exists. You just haven't found it, but you will. It's waiting, somewhere behind your mirror. It's 2:41 a.m. The Polaroid camera sits across from me on the hotel room's desk, aimed at my chest. There's a fresh roll of film inside. I've done everything I can to prevent the photo from being taken. I've unplugged every light, covered every reflective surface. I've scrubbed this room clean of anything that could trigger the shutter. But still, I can feel it preparing to capture something. It's humming now, not from mechanics, but from something deeper. A low, throbbing pressure, like a heartbeat behind drywall. Like it's watching, not through a lens, but through a mind. And then the smell hits, chemical rot, burnt plastic, something sweet underneath like rotting fruit in a sealed bag. That smell has always come before the flash. 3 minutes left. This is where the story ends. Unless I can unmake it. I broke the hotel mirror this morning. Not with rage, with ritual. Just like the diary said. 7 shards, 7 reflections, 7 entries. Behind the plaster was a crawl space. Inside, red light. A table covered in contact sheets. Photographs, hundreds of them, hanging by clothespins on black wires. The walls are soaked with developer fluid. The air buzzes with flies that have no eyes. I see Margaret's body, not in person, in sequential Polaroids, like frames from a film. Each image reveals a moment I've never consciously lived, but I feel them in my hands. The weight of her body, the warmth leaving her, the breath that didn't quite finish escaping before she died. One photo shows my face up close, crying. Another shows me smiling, mid-laugh. The final image? Just her face gone, smeared out like an overexposed painting. No body, just absence. The caption? Frame, null, not numbered, not indexed, not complete. I no longer believe I killed Margaret. I believe the camera erased her. Or worse, merged her into itself. Each subject in the pattern follows the same path. Grief, isolation, obsession, then the final crime. But the photos are lies that become true, not true things that are documented. Margaret warned me. She knew that by receiving the camera, she'd been designated. That her final image was inevitable unless she passed it on. She sent it to me thinking I would break the pattern. And maybe I have almost. Because here, now, at the edge of the sequence, the camera doesn't know how to end me. It's stalling. It's negotiating. At 2:42 a.m., the camera spoke. Not in words, but in clicks, a mechanical Morse code of sound and intent. And I understood it. It said, trade, 1 photo for 1 person. Replace frame. Interrupt sequence. Name Margaret. The implication was horrifying. If I took someone else's photo, someone innocent, and labeled it with Margaret's name, I could reset the order. I could trick the camera. Force it to develop a new narrative, one where Margaret never existed, and someone else takes her place. I picked up the camera, stared through the viewfinder. The lens showed not the room, but a street corner, far from here. A young woman walked alone, headphones in, oblivious, alive. The shutter twitched. I didn't press it, not yet. The camera whispered again, low and wet, a sound like meat being sliced. Someone, anyone, fill the frame. Make it make sense. At 2:43 a.m., the world slowed. Literally. The red digits on the hotel alarm clock pulsed slower. I blinked, and the blink took 3 full seconds. The air grew thick like gelatin, like atmosphere on the moon. Time had been stretched. The camera was waiting, giving me one last chance. I could let the photo be taken, the final frame, and let it lock the crime into reality. Solidify it forever. Make it law. Or I could trick it, fake it, turn on myself. At 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 59 seconds, I pointed the lens into my own eye. I pressed the shutter. The flash went off, and something inside me peeled. For a second, less than a second, I was no longer me. I saw every version of myself the camera had cataloged. Killer, victim, priest, ghost child, faceless man in the coat. Each life was layered like acetate, a stack of false negatives. And then, darkness. When I woke up, the photo had developed. It showed me. Not dead, not violent, just disappearing. Bits of my face turning to emulsion flakes. My left arm half faded. My eyes replaced by undeveloped white voids. The caption read, "End of frame sequence. Final subject self-deleted." And beneath that, "The camera is now hungry again." I mailed the camera away. No return address. No postmark. No tracking. Just wrapped it in brown butcher paper and sealed it inside a box marked "Pictures of Home." Someone will find it. And when they do, they'll do what I did. Take one photo. Just one. Curiosity is all it needs. I wish I could stop them. I wish I could warn them. But the photo I took of myself is fading from my own memory. Already, I struggle to recall my voice. My name, Margaret's touch. I'm not being forgotten. I'm being rewritten. Undeveloped. Then you already know what comes next. You'll either find the camera or we'll find you. You'll say, "I'll just try one photo." That's how it begins. The first image will seem innocent, a picture of your room, your friend, your dog. But check the caption. Look carefully at the timestamp. You'll find it doesn't match when you took the photo. It matches something else. Something that hasn't happened yet. Maybe a fire. Maybe a body. Maybe your own hands holding something you swore you'd never touch. And if you go further, if you flip to the second photo or the third, you'll find scenes of horror, carefully staged, perfectly composed, each one closer to something you fear most. And then, one day, you'll wake up in a place you swear you didn't go to, holding a photo of something you don't remember doing, and you'll see the caption, "Final frame, confirmed." And from that moment forward, every step you take will be toward fulfilling that frame. You'll try to resist. You'll think you're smarter. You'll be wrong, because the camera doesn't predict the future. It creates it. They say every Polaroid contains one invisible frame, an image so cursed, so infectious, that to even know it exists is to begin your own sequence. This story was that image. Its frame isn't a photograph. It's a narrative. And by reading this, you've seen the first inch of it. You've glimpsed the lens. Your story is beginning. Check your phone's gallery. Look behind your mirror. Check your mailbox. You'll find it soon enough. And when you do, don't smile. It's already taken a shot.